So, welcome once again to the broncolor studio. My name is Urs Recho, and this time I'm not alone with my lights. Today I have wonderful Jasmin Verhagen with me, dancer from Germany, from Dresden. She's dancing at the Semperoper there. I had the pleasure already to make an entire workshop about dance photography with her 2 years ago, and luckily she's just in Switzerland now for 2 weeks. And actually tomorrow you go back. We have you will see it later on, it's a big benefit, a big pleasure to shoot with her. It's amazing what she does in front or on stage. What's going on today? First of all, I will take you on a short studio tour. I will show you the lights that I already set up. And I would like, because the webcam is pretty far away, I would like to let you see as well the dimensions of the studio, how high the background is and so on. So that's why we start with a small studio tour, because I can't bring you very close in. I don't bring you very close. If you want to heat up your muscles, that's now the moment. Thank you. I don't want to bring the camera a lot closer, because I want you from the webcam to see my camera as well, so that you have an idea about the entire set. So here is a full frame mirrorless camera with a zoom lens. It's a 24-70 millimeter zoom, and I use it all the way on 70 millimeters. If I would do this, let's say without you observing the shooting, I would have a longer lens, maybe a 105 or a 85, something like this, and go even further back. Why? When I have a longer lens, the picture angle is more narrow. So having Jasmin on the same position, the background just covers more of the background. So that the background appears bigger in the picture. Later on, we will have to time my right finger and her moves very precisely, that she's positioned nicely in front of the black background. Okay, good. So, but I will definitely work around this. Then beside her, the other star of the shoot is this light here. It's the LED F160. We had a week ago, we had the product inside about this light. I explained a lot about the possibilities to shape this light. And this means I should have a quick talk about the light shaper that I'm using today. It's the light shaper is actually bigger than the entire lamp head. It's a P45. And the reason why I'm using a P45, which is a narrow angle reflector, I use it more like a power reflector today. That's as well something we covered a week ago. If you work with continuous light, most of the time you use it on full power, almost full power or full power, because I never have enough of this light. Okay, so I will definitely work on power setting 10. I will work on daylight balance. So we have 2 presets, tungsten and daylight balance. I will definitely put into 5500 Kelvin, that it matches my flashlight color-wise. And I don't want, let's say with the P70, the light angle is more open, the light disappears everywhere a little bit, it's kind of uncontrolled, maybe it hits the background even more, so I don't want this. I really want and I need the light on her. So that's why I work with a narrow light angle, and here the P45 really redirects the light straight on her, and I don't need any honeycomb grids. Honeycomb grids as well would redirect the light a little bit, but of course the price I pay using grids is that I'm burning a lot of the light. And as I said, I really would like to have all the light reaching Jasmin. Okay, what else do we have in the studio? Let me take this with me already. So this light is going to be a backlight. I put this here. The background, first of all, you see now the dimensions a little bit. So I'm just below 2 meters. So the background is maybe twice my size. So the background is definitely like 4 meters high. She will be at this distance, and this allows me to have the camera relatively low. Of course, this makes the entire pose more elegant. It immediately gives her somewhat more height, because we will shoot a pose in the air. Actually, I will shoot her flying. And but the low camera position and her jumping, of course, requires a really high background. So that's why I came up with a kind of a construction here, that the background is not falling. And in the same construction with all these tubes, I fixed as well here the softbox. It's a 30 by 120 softbox equipped with honeycomb grids. That as well, I get some control about the light. Of course, not as precise as a narrower grid or a non-textile grid, but at least I can block some of the light hitting my lens, and the light definitively won't hit the background. However, the grid has nothing to do with this. The position of these two lights has to do something with this. Both these lights, the LED F160 continuous light and this softbox 3120 with grids, they are both behind the background. That's why I have here about 1.5 meter space between my black paper background and the white wall, that I can work here with backlights without having to illuminate the paper at the same time. Good. Last but not least, but not less important, is the main light, if you want to call it that. It's a Para 88, and I can still turn it now. So I equipped the Para 88 with grids. Let me turn this a little bit more so you can see this better. Exactly. So it's equipped with grids. The Paras, we have 4 Paras in our range. The large ones, they have a very shiny reflector. So when I focus the light really leaves the reflector more or less parallel. So there's very little light going left and right. However, the small Paras, like the 88 and the 133, if we would still be using the very shiny reflective material, they would be a little bit almost like too aggressive. So we are softening the light a tiny little bit by using a reflective material that diffuses the light a little bit more. It's still properly, nicely focusable, and especially defocusable. So we still can vary the light characteristics over a very large range. However, if I really would like to use the Para as a spot, the small ones then work much better if we use grids on them. That's why this one is equipped with the textile honeycomb grid. But this comes later. Right. Let me put this more or less back in position. Okay. Fine-tuning we do later on. Good. Definitively, the first recommendation I give to you is, if you do such a kind of a mixed light situation, I definitely recommend to start with the continuous light first. Why? If I work with flash, first of all, with flash I have a wide power range. On the Scoro there I have 9 f-stops. On the large Scoros I have even 10 f-stops of power range. On the LED back there I have 4 or 5 f-stops, depending how you count. But I will use it on full power anyway. So this is the light that limits my setup, that defines in the end the parameters of aperture on the camera, shutter speed as well on the camera, and sensitivity. When I work with flash, 2 of these parameters are always given. Sensitivity is always the lowest possible, because then we get the best file with the least noise. And the shutter speed on the camera is irrelevant, as long as the studio environment is dark enough. So there, when I work with flash, I always say, okay, aperture this or that, but I never talk about sensitivity because it's the lowest, and never talk about exposure time because it doesn't matter. But this light depends on all the 3 factors. So that's why I work with this light first. I try to control this light, that it does exactly what I want, and then I always can add flashlight to meet my needs with the continuous light. But that's the one we start working with. So let me switch it on. I would just like to let you know what's actually the goal of today. I would like to capture Jasmine making a nice jump. I would like to show the movement thanks to continuous light, and then at the end of the jump, I would like to add a flash with a very short duration to freeze the movement. So I would like, in the same shot, to show the movement, to show the jump, the dynamics of her movement, but at the same time, I don't want to make any compromise on the sharpness. So that's the combination that I'm aiming to. And yeah, unfortunately, I already have to apologize now. You will get the video quality will not be so very good. Now I'm illuminating the scene with 800 watts of light. I will have to switch this off, and then I will have to see how much light do I get from the LED compared with the ambient light. Maybe I have to reduce it even more, and then of course what you see with the video camera will be a little grainy or noisy. We'll see, but this one has to go off for sure, and with the rest we can give it a try. So, ready? Wonderful. Okay. The last thing, because I forgot this as well to explain in the morning, what I prepared here for her, black paper, but under the black paper there is some soft material like this. It's just a 1 centimeter polyfoam material covered on both sides with a very thin cardboard, and it just softens my concrete floor a little bit. Otherwise, when I ask her to jump like, how many did we in the morning, like 30, 35 jumps, it's definitely not good for her joints. It would be death for my joints, but for hers it would not be good. So that's actually below here. So that's under the black paper here. I covered this. And now, while we set up, I cover the black paper again with just a dirty piece of paper that we can keep it clean as long as possible to adjust all the technical things. I don't need the beautiful black floor yet, so that's why she's standing onto this. Checking the light, something else that I see is that our LED is hitting the mic camera and the webcam like crazy. So let me block this, probably more like here. So you should be kind of fine. Yeah, just let me check if it blocks the camera view. Yes, of course it does, like always. So I'll go a little bit further away with it. So maybe when I'm here, my camera is definitely safe. And now I hope that the webcam of my camera is safe. Yeah, it's just out of the picture frame, which is good news. And you see as well better. Okay, good. So let's have a look how strong this light is compared to my studio light. I'm just aiming the light straight on her, full power. And then I'm going to take a first test shot. For this, it's going to be very live what I'm doing. So I'm going to share the screen with you. So we are using Capture One today. Exactly. Camera settings, you see the camera settings on the left of the window. So I'm working with ISO 400. Exposure time, no, it's wrong. The shutter speed is 1/4 of a second and the aperture is 7. In the morning, there was the question, why not working at the lower sensitivity? So why not going to 200 or even 100, because you get a better file. The exposure time or the shutter speed, that's of course a creative decision. This 1/4 of a second experience shows that this 1/4 of a second makes a lot of sense. This is long enough that I can capture the movement of Yasmin flying through the air, and it's short enough that we have a reasonable chance that the entire figure is in the air. If I go for half a second, I cannot ask her to fly around in the studio during half a second. It's just not possible without a trampoline, maybe. But now it's just her muscles, and there are a lot of them. But nevertheless, a quarter of a second, that's pretty much the max what I can ask her to remain in the air. So this quarter of a second is pretty much given. Then we have the aperture, which I chose now to 7. Because I would like to have a certain depth of field. The lens opens all the way to 2.8, but if I open it a lot more, then I really run into problems with depth of field, not with, let's say, with flash duration and so on, but of course, once I will shoot her here, and then the next jump will probably be here, and then, so I need at least, let's say here, 1 meter of depth of field. That's why I go for this aperture 7, and the sensitivity in the end is nothing else than the consequence of shutter speed and aperture. So it's not like a creative decision or whatever, it's pretty much given by the set. Good. Enough talking, now I press buttons. You can actually stay there, no movements yet. And I just shoot quickly like this. All right, so as you can see, there's a lot of light around. I just reduce the light a little bit. That's the wrong button, of course. So I just explained it to somebody before, but I'm just too stupid. Okay, good. So we have less light in the studio. And I shoot again. Okay, I think that's probably a good compromise. You still see the white background, so behind the black paper, the white background is still kind of illuminated, but at least I can let you see a little bit what I'm doing here. So we work with this, and in the end, when I really think that I'm almost there, I switch off the lights entirely, and then we go for the real shoot. But to set up the lights, this is absolutely sufficient. All right, light metering. So let me zoom in here on the arm. This arm is completely burnt. So if I go for a metering here on top, it's 255, 254, 253. So completely out of, completely burnt, no color there, far overexposed. But it's very important that when we work with continuous light and movements, that we do not try to adjust the exposure when she's standing still. Okay, because during this quarter of a second, the light coming from the back hits her here, and this white line remains at the same spot. So the light here on her arm or on her leg can accumulate and becomes brighter and brighter and brighter during this quarter of a second. However, if she moves through the picture during this quarter of a second, the light energy of this line will be distributed over a larger area of my chip, and this means the exposure will be lower. So if you want to have a good idea on the brightness, you have to, unfortunately, you have to make the model work very early and let her move. Okay, that's the next one we do. Must not be the jump, just can be a fast walk through the scene. Yes. Good. All right. And we will see that obviously we get this movement. And now if I go to zoom, no, I don't have to zoom in, but if I go to meet at the same spot, which was completely burned before, is now on a 161. Okay, so in average 150. And let's say if we go to a part of the leg here that's not really moving very fast, still a little bit, we have immediately more light. We have 230. Okay, but the important thing is from the understanding that yes, we have to make the adjustments, while the model is moving. Now, next problem. Look at if you look at the floor, at my paper, the black paper is not black. That's bad news. Okay, so what happens? We need a lot of light from there. Full power, quarter of a second, high sensitivity. This gives me correct exposure on her movement because she's moving, but the floor, the black floor, is not moving. So there the light accumulates. Okay, so this means even the black floor turns out far overexposed and requires a lot of post-production or more precise light shaping. And I go for the second. Here, even when I try to do this with flags, let's say I grab a flag and I try to get rid of the light of the floor using a flag. As soon as my floor, the paper is clean, she has to jump really high. Okay, and again, that's not something I can ask her because she cannot fly half a second and she cannot fly 1 meter high and stay there. So I have to find a different way. The light that we saw before, the light that brings the movement in the picture has no direction. It's just completely blurred. So I don't really care if this light is a top light, a side light, or from below. It's just responsible for the movement, but it doesn't show any direction. So, and this means it allows me to take it all the way down. So I switch here the stand, that I can use the same stand, almost like a floor stand. Again, aim it to her, that it's hitting her with all the power. The lamp head, by the way, is focused. It's a LED F160, and the F stands for focus, which means the point light source is exactly on the focus point of this parabola, and this means the light is leaving the reflector more or less parallel, actually hitting her and not going anywhere else in the studio. My flag has to be repositioned. All right, it has to be here somewhere. It's not perfect for the webcam, but I don't want it to be in the picture. Okay, this is good. And now let's shoot this again. And I'm going to show you, okay, put it a little bit more. It's too disturbing. All right, something like this should be good. And going to share the screen again with Capital One. This was the last one, and now exactly the same with the new lamp position, all the way down. Okay, and I'm ready. Good, thank you. So it's already much darker. So this was before, that's now. Okay, so what did I do? I put it very low. This, I call this winter position. So the sun is very low. It cannot really heat up the floor. It cannot really illuminate the floor. That's why it's cold in winter. So from the summer position, I put it into winter position. And coming from such a low angle, I can work much more precisely now with the flag. So the flag is here for a reason. Sorry? Oh, thank you.
Urs, can you please share the screen, please? Urs, can you share the screen? Could you please share the screen?
Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so this was the one before, with a lot of light on the floor, and then going down with the light already takes off a lot of the light on the floor, and you will see this in the next step, that the flag is going to be effective this time. So I put a black flag here, And of course now not that high, but lower, 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 that it's just covering the floor, so the border between light and shadow is just on her ankles. Remember the shot I'm going to do, there she will be in the air anyway, so if I have a tiny fall off of the light down on the feet, I don't really care because she's going to be higher up. And this means that now I should have a controllable or a controlled situation. And that's what we are shooting next. So this is the last one, and I'm shooting the next one. Once again, the same thing, please, for me. Yes, I'm ready. Good. So now this should be the situation. I just pressed the button too early, but beside this, you see the black paper. Now, actually, is a black paper, even if I have too much light around in the studio. And this light is kind of under control. For the fine adjustments, I have to speed everything up because her movement has a big influence on the exposure. If she slows down the movement, the exposure becomes brighter. If she's speeding up the movement, the exposure becomes lower. So to have an idea about what we are actually doing, unfortunately, we have to start, or you have to start flying around in my studio, please. Okay, and yes, I'm ready. Good, fantastic. Okay, give me the focus point. I didn't focus properly yet. Okay, and just give me another one because now I know it's sharp for sure. Yeah, good, fantastic. Thanks. All right. So now that's pretty much what I meant. You see, on the left, I have just a few pixels left in black. On this shot here, I have a little bit more, but this problem would be less if I had a longer lens. But now that's it, and we will manage in the morning to have a shot at the right position. So that's why we continue like this. Exposure-wise makes sense. Let me have here a metering of some of the brightest parts. Even there in the brightest part, it's still 232 in the red channel, so absolutely not burnt. It's clear difference to the black background, so I definitely can live with this. And this means it's time to add flashlight. If you have questions, you can already ask them now. Just use the chat on the right. And when I have the light is done, before we go for the final shooting, I will have a quick look at the question and answer them. But before this, main light. As I said, the main light is going to be the para. Now, why does it have to be a focusable light? Why a para focused and grids? Because I want the light on her. So is it too bright? It's too bright, but it doesn't matter because you see it properly like this. So if I go straight onto her with this light, there's a lot of light as well going to the background. And I want the background to remain black. So I need light control. Okay, like a softbox, everything that's in front of a softbox, for example, is illuminated. Here I want the light on her, but not on the background. That's why I turn it away a little bit. More. That she's still in the light, but the background not. Something like this. Then I have the impression, I know that she's going to jump a little bit, no, quite high. But nevertheless, I have the impression that the light fades off too fast, so I direct the light down a little bit. Something like that. And now, very important, modeling light has to go off. Okay, the only light that's allowed to shine all the time, that's my continuous light over there. If this one, the modeling light, is on as well, it's weaker than the LED, of course, but it would create more blur even on the sharp side of the photograph, and of course it would be combined with a very dominant red shift of the light. So here the light goes off, the modeling light goes off, and that I don't forget it, let's switch this guy on as well. It's not, you can do the shot as well without this one, but it's just nice, especially with the dark hair, that we have a little bit of a hair light. So that's why I switch on this light up there as well. And the modeling light's off. And then we go for the next try. And I'm ready, yep. Hopla, too early. No, actually not too early. There's another problem. Let me show this other problem. So the other problem is that she's jumping backwards. Okay, so I actually pressed, I pressed the button a little bit too early, but then the flash is first, and then she jumps into her continuous light. So that's why we have here a very unclear photograph, like continuous light is overlapping flashlight. So I did this on purpose. What I did not do on purpose is to shoot unsharp. So we have to refocus again. It would be really a pity if I had the perfect pose and everything, but out of focus. So let me focus this again properly. With the modeling light on. Focus. Okay, good. And we have to do this again. What else? And at the same time, I can correct two mistakes at the same time. So it should be sharp now, and I'm going to delay 2 power packs. Remember, camera is on 1/4 of a second, so I'm going to delay the 2 power packs by 1/4 of a second as well. If you have a camera that can do rear shutter synchronization, this would be possible as well, but maybe you or your client all of a sudden wants to shoot or to have the flash a little bit earlier or a little bit later. So with the delay, you are much more flexible. You can actually, with the increments, with the precision of 1/100th of a second, you can define when you would like to expose the flashlight. In this shoot, I prefer to have the flash at the very end of my exposure, so I'm going to delay it by 1/4 of a second, which is 0.04. Practice shows that if I put it on 0.25, the flash is not on. So a Swiss 1/4 of a second and the Japanese 1/4 of a second is not exactly the same. So that's why I fire just a 1/100th of a second early. So the delay is 0.24 seconds, very close to a 1/4 of a second. So we go here down as well. In delay, 0.24. Right, good. So checking. I want the sharp photograph and I want the flash at the end. These are the 2 things we have to check. And yes. Good. Okay, that's much closer to what I want. So first of all, it is actually, we see this very nicely here on the hand. So the hand moves from the left to the right, and after the flash, there is no more blur on the right. Okay, it really, my exposure ends with the flash. Then we have here down, you see this as well very nicely, down the hand, down the arm, here on the hair we have the backlight. So this as well, it's there, but it's not overpowering. It's not like a new main light or something. What else can go wrong? Sharpness. So let's zoom in here. Okay, this sweater she's wearing, you can see the texture very precisely. So it's absolutely sharp focus is fine. However, down here on the feet, I have the impression that we can do a little bit more on the sharpness. Nevertheless, the feet are on the same position, on the same distance from the camera like the rest of the body. So I'm not thinking that I have a focus problem. I think I have a flash duration problem. Okay, so that's why I'm going to change the flashes to T01 minimum. Right now it's an optimum, which means I have 2000 of a second. And I'm going to program now a flash that's 5 times shorter. So I'm going to work with a 10,000th of a second. A 10,000th of a second, that's the exposure time in the end. Exposure time is something else than shutter speed. The shutter speed on the camera defines the continuous light, but it has nothing to do with the flash. The flash defines its own exposure time. Okay, so exposure time is this side, shutter speed is camera. So let's go down here to T01. Optimum refers to the color. It's the perfect color. But I just tell the pack now that I have a different priority. I would like to have a faster, shorter flash duration. And this means I'm not on T01 optimum anymore. And this means I have to make a new gray balance. So T01 goes to minimum. All right. And that's actually quite important. I mean, on this set, you know, with her beautiful skin tone, if I have a few hundred kelvins more or less, I wouldn't really feel this. Okay, but it's very important if you have, let's say, like more like whitish skin tones, they turn bluish much earlier, or if you have neutral colors, like gray, black colors, and they have to remain gray or black, then you do really care about a few hundred kelvins. So it's a very good advice that if ever you go away from T01 optimum, in this setting, the power pack guarantees optimum color, no matter what power you choose. Now I tell the pack I have a different priority. Forget about the color, give me the shortest possible flash duration, but I have to tell the camera that we are working with a new color, and that's why you get this one. And I can do this directly here from the camera. Let me share this already. Share. Okay, and then I can take the next picture here from the camera. Let's have a look if we actually see a color temperature shift. If I fire the next one. Yeah, you see it. Okay. Of course, I have some light around in the studio. You see it on the background. The background turns colder, especially the white, right? Okay. So that's the first thing I have to do. A new gray balance here on this gray card. Good, wonderful. And then the softbox up there. Thank you. The softbox up there as well creates some problems. It's even with the grids, it's still creating a little bit of flare into my camera, so that's why I have to flag it off. The last flag, I hope, somewhere around here. Let me check. Oh, it's too low. Okay, millimeter. So it's just out of the picture frame. Exactly. So check out what happens to the black background on the top left. If I shoot again, this little flag should clean the background up there. Okay. With my cropping, I won't get any higher anyway. So that's absolutely okay where it is now. It just protects my front lens. We do this another time because I went down 2 millimeters. I actually went up 2 millimeters. So let's go down, shoot again. Okay, that's fine. Good. I think we are pretty much there. Yes, this light. Top light works. Okay. Before I go for the shooting, let me check if there are already some questions. Yes, there are two. What lens are you using? I'm using a zoom lens. It's a mirrorless full frame camera, and it's a zoom lens 2470 2.8. Very nice lens, and I use it fully on the longest possible focal length of 70 millimeters. As I said before, as we talk about lenses, if I would do this as a real shooting, not as a webinar where I need the camera position behind this camera, I would go further away. I would probably shoot with an 85 or even with a 105 all the way back and use the entire length of my studio because I have less problems with the background. But it's a very nice lens. Why don't you use the app to control the lights? Me personally, because they're just here. It's just 2 meters, all right? And it's not, most of my photographs, I take them once. So it's not just about going up and down with the power. So it's as well about positions, okay? So every single light I have been as well touching with my fingers and aim it, so I'm there anyway. So that's why personally I don't work with such a shooting. I don't work with the app. If I had, for example, a Zeros light up there, I would definitely use the app because I would be very tired of going up the stairs all the time to change the power up there. But now the top light is connected to the Scoro, which is back there anyway. Okay, so it's just laziness, call it laziness, that I can easily walk these 3 meters and redirect the light, and at the same time I can adjust the angles. Yes, you can. Can you shift the color temperature on the LED? Yes, you can do this. Now it's on daylight balance. Which is 5,500 Kelvin. I chose this value that it works perfectly together with my flash, because what's coming out of the flash tube, of course, as well, is daylight balanced, so that it works properly together. I don't want to change it now, but maybe later on, when I finish the shooting, I can quickly change it and let you see what happens. For example, if you go to tungsten, tungsten would be 3,400 Kelvin. But we can even go warmer than tungsten. We can start at 2,800 Kelvin and then go all the way up. We can pass daylight and shoot more blue than daylight with all the way up to 6,800 Kelvin. So, can this shot be done with modeling lights only? Yes, if you're happy that this light has a very dominant yellow cast. So if you combine it with flashlight. Flash, of course, is daylight balanced, and if the backlight is modeling light, then it's tungsten balanced, and it would have a dominant yellow shift. Now, what you can do, I would not advise to filter tungsten light to blue. There are conversion filters, but I wouldn't recommend this because you lose even more power. So this light is more powerful than modeling light. So you lose power. So you really work probably with even a higher ISO. You have to open the aperture more than you want. So don't do this. Leave it there on tungsten on full power, open reflector. And if you have to do this, filter this one. Filter the flash. Because going up 1 f-stop with the flash power is not really a big deal. We have I'm now on power 5, so I have 5 more f-stops reserved in power. So even if my conversion filter here absorbs a full f-stop or even 1.5 f-stops for the flash, it's just peanuts. So I would definitely filter the flash to tungsten and then work with a proper gray balance. Okay, why is the shadow yellowish? Because I shot it. The shadow back on the wall is yellowish because I still have some lights around here in the studio. if I switch these off, the studio really turns black, and then you don't see anything anymore. So this is a kind of a compromise. As well, when I was working without the flash, you could still feel a little bit where is her body. And that's just, I have two windows here just next to the camera, to the webcam, and I have a little bit of fluorescent lights up there. And with this long exposure time on the camera, you still feel this a little bit. And it's evening now in Switzerland, so the light is not really daylight anymore. It's already warm, what's coming through the windows. My studio lights are on 4,000 Kelvin. I didn't want to have them on daylight because it's a very cold atmosphere, and I was afraid of having them too warm. So that's why my studio lights are 4,000 Kelvin. But of course, my camera is on 5.5. So that's why you get this yellow cast in the shadows and as well on the background. The last one for now is the parafocus or defocus for this shot. It's as focused as possible. It's more focused than focused. So it's all the way out. So the focus position is 10. And this is not sufficient now because I really want this light to hit her and not the background. So that's why I supported the focus effect by putting grids on. Thanks for the question, because this reminds me that I forgot to answer or to explain something. Let me switch on the light again so you can see the light is focused to here. I'm now standing straight in the middle of the light. You see this as well on the shadow behind me. However, Jasmine is at the edge of the light. So she is, now I'm standing in the right line. So she is pretty much at the edge of the light, which means the light travels more in front of her and does not hit my background, because I want the background to be black. I will explain it later on why this is so important. Nice side effect, even when I don't have any active flash from this side, there's a lot of light hitting this wall and filling in the scene. Okay, that's absolutely enough filling light. So having or showing this trick of not aiming the light straight to the model, but aiming the light more in front of the model actually saves you the fill-in light if you have a reflective wall anywhere close by. Good. Let me just take a quick sip. Yes, okay. So the question list is empty, which means we go back to shoot. And before I ask her to give me 10 jumps, we have to check on the technical aspect. The last technical aspect was the unsharpness on your feet. So I don't ask you to jump more slowly. I just ask my flashes to flash shorter. I have to make sure that I stay concentrated. I just switched off the modeling lights, otherwise we have a big mess here. And I'm ready. Good. Okay, so this is just about technical stuff. Is it sharp? Focus tool here. Yes, this is sharp. You see the highlight on her ring. Let's check the texture on her t-shirt. Perfect. Fast moving shoes. Okay, now they are sharp. Okay. So that's a different story than before. The legs as well, perfectly sharp, perfectly sharp, perfectly sharp. Okay, so from a light point of view, I'm actually quite happy. No, actually very happy. So the face is properly exposed, only receives daylight, flashlight. This line, you see the line of the arm goes now, travels a little bit over her nose and lips. Of course, something like this is uncontrollable. Okay, we just have to shoot this now like, I don't know, 100-200 times, and then we have the perfect shot. Not more on the left, not more on that side, a little bit earlier, but I will tell you from shot to shot where you have to be. But besides this, we have a realistic chance that we get the perfect shot pretty much in camera. Just let me check one more time if I'm sharing the screen with you. Yes. Okay, so I would say average 10 shots, something like that. And then we check what we have. And I'm not ready. I'm not ready because this light, also the LED light still hits the camera. So I have to bring this down a little bit. Just saw this now, sorry for that. Now it's safe and off picture frame. Okay, next try. Yes. Good, wonderful. Okay, fantastic. Still a little bit there, a little bit take off a little earlier, and I'm ready. Fantastic, exactly there. Okay, around there, yes. Yep. Wonderful. Good. Nice one, nice one. Okay. We could, of course, already stop, but it's so nice to do this. Okay. Right, perfect. I mean, if you look at her legs, it's just wow. Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm too late. Nevertheless, you make it good. You make it look good. Good. And we take one more, last one. Okay, I was a little late, I think, but still, they all look great. They really all look great. Okay, thank you very much already. So we have a nice contact sheet now of photographs to choose from. Here it's a little bit too much on the left, so I cannot make a proper cropping here. This one works great, but I have overlapping here on the face. So let me start here again. So no, because overlapping on the face. Yes, perfect. I can crop it. Okay, this receives a 1 star. No. Cropping problem. Here a little bit of overlapping, but too good to throw it away. Yes, maybe retouchable. So I keep this. Okay, narrow cropping, but it just works on the right side, on the left side. So we definitely keep this one because the face is super clean. No overlappings here. Same here. I don't like the face here too much, and here I'm a little late. Okay, so Yasmin, if you are in the mood, we do another 5. If possible, can you do something a little less wide with your right arm? Or let's say go far, no, with the faster up. I show it to you. This is the problem. Okay, this is the problem that it's here too far. So maybe if you can already start more vertical with the arm, that it's not all horizontal when I start exposure. Okay. Something like this. Okay, so really promise we do this 5 more times. Then I go with a different color on the background because this was one of the questions. Press the button once more. But then we have it. And no, I'm ready. Yes. You see, it's just, I don't get it, you know, everything is the same, everything is perfect, she just has a different arm position. And it's so amazing, you know, okay, yeah. Good. So that the only one that makes a mistake once in a while, it's me, yep. Good. So we take 2 more. Good, and the last one. Fantastic. Yeah, great. I mean, probably it's the last one. Huh? Okay, let me show quickly, before I forget it, something on the last one. the lights are set up so the flash, then the model and the backlights, they are set up in a 100 degrees angle. And there's, beside the reflection of my gray wall, there is no fill-in light. And first of all, I have this dark area on her right leg that actually separates the two lights. That the continuous light is not reaching the area where I expose the flashlight. That's why it's so very clean here, that it does not, I don't have any blur on this. If you would take both lights, let's say the flashlight and the continuous light, both closer to the camera, they would illuminate the same area of the scene. And of course, I would immediately get blurred or unsharp elements on the sharp parts of the shot. And because I'm using no fill-in light, just a little bit of reflections from the white wall, that's why I work with a relatively hard contrast or a harsh high contrast on her legs. That's why we see the muscles so beautifully. Para, of course, helps as well to modulate it. And I asked her with the face that she looks with the face more to the light. So the light on the body is more like a side light, working out the muscles, while the face looks more towards the light and appears softer. So that's the trick here. Okay, because with the two lights, I would like to have a beautiful looking face and a very powerful light on the body. Last shot, I'm just going to change the background now to tungsten light balance. We make one more, and then, opla, that's light off. That's the right button. And I just want to show it to you quickly what this does to the colors. Yes, I'm ready. It of course will not affect the flash, but the rest is yellow. Okay, so that's the choice you have. From daylight, so it works perfectly together with the flash, has the same color language. The blurred light is the same like the flashlight. And then this is what it would look like if you do the same shot with modeling lights only. Personally, I definitively prefer this. Okay, good. So here we definitely find the final somewhere. So this is one of my favorite shots. Let's go here. Too much overlapping here because the last one was certainly better. I can just crop. We can keep it, but I think it's the last one or this one. Beautiful. Okay. Let me check sharpness. Fantastic. I mean, as well, if you look at the face, super relaxed. This is just a beautiful portrait, but imagine that she's like flying half a meter in the air and still looks relaxed. I asked her during lunch break how she does it. She didn't want to tell me. Okay, here too much overlapping. No. I like the other pose better. No. No. Okay, so it's definitely one of the last ones. This one, or this one, or I think I go for this one. Last check. Yes. Yes. Okay. So what's always important is framing. So I just crop it a little bit more narrow. Just that everything is on. Right. And so this would be the final of today. Okay. I would like to explain. First of all, thank you very much. Yasmin was excellent, like expected. Fantastic what you did. Thank you so much. I would like to show you a few more, actually two more techniques. What you can do if you combine flashlight with continuous light. And for this, actually I can turn on the light again. If you want to do me a favor, can you press the upper plus? The upper plus. That's the one I need from you. Thank you. So what else can we do if we combine flashlight and continuous light? So we start where we have just ended. We start here. So that's exactly what we did. It's as well, this is a dancer, this time not from Germany, but somebody, actually now she's in Germany, right? But at that moment when I shot her, she was still part of the ballet team in Basel. And that's exactly what we did. So I'm capturing here with a still standing camera, I'm capturing the movement of the model. That's why the hands have they show a different movement than, let's say, the shoulder, than the second hand, than the head. So that's actually documenting the model's movement. If you are not working, let's say, with a dancer or somebody that cannot move that properly, but can just do a beautiful pose, you have a plan B, which means not the model moves, but the camera moves, and then you get this result. So you just ask the model to take a pose, and then you're rotating the camera. The result is that the entire figure moves on the sensor. So different parts of the body move with the same speed in the same direction. Personally, I prefer the other one because it's just there's more happening. But if somehow you have synchronization problem with the model, timing problem with the model, that's of course very simple for the model because she can actually just stand still in her pose and you do the work for her. Up to you. You can do both. Technically, working with shutter speed, with aperture, with flash duration, it's exactly the same story. Then I would like to show you a different set. There I show you the setup first, a behind-the-scenes photograph. Pretty much what we have here, a lot of light hitting the back of the model. You see her blonde hair is completely burned. And then we have the P-soft reflector that you see on the top of the picture frame. Is part of a beauty setup. So the P-soft with the grids and the small softbox on the height of her hips are illuminating her face with flashlight. So there it's absolutely sharp, but not the body. So the flashlight in this situation goes on the face only. And what we have on the body are these three assistants. Okay, so we have three mirror holding assistant. The lady on the left is illuminating the background. So reflects some of the continuous light towards the background, while the other two assistants are illuminating the model's dress. Now, what does this bring? What does it bring? That's the full picture. So it brings an absolutely sharp photograph of the face, because I asked the assistant not to illuminate the face, but the rest of the body is clearly blurred. You will see this better if we zoom in. Okay, so absolute sharpness on the eyes, on the nose, on the lips. Jewelry left and right already start to be blurred a little bit. We have wind in the model's hair, so they are heavily blurred. The dress, the bracelet around the arm she's wearing is heavily blurred. So it's this combination of mixing daylight or a flashlight with continuous light. So it offers just a almost infinitive pool of creative ideas. Exactly the same. Last picture I'm going to show here is this one, but it's exactly the same like the golden girl before. So again, flashlight on the face only, while this metallic bracelet she's wearing and the hair is moved slightly. And then you can see actually that it's a dynamic shot. Nevertheless, I don't have to make any compromise on the sharpness because I have my flashlights with a short flash duration illuminating the face. Right. So this was the shooting. Now I would like to answer the last questions. What type of reflector is on the LED? Can it be diffused? Is it at full power? What reflector is it? It's a P45 reflector. Do you see me? Yes. So it's a P45 reflector. I don't know if you are familiar with our normal reflectors. Just let me compare it for you. So that's a P70, the normal reflector, and that's this narrow angle reflector P45. So it's actually the diameter is bigger, however the light angle is more narrow. So in this situation, it has the function of a power reflector. I made a test shooting, well, not with her, but here against my gray wall, and it brings out about 1 more f-stop compared to this one. And as I said at the beginning, when I work with continuous light, I want to have all the continuous light hitting the object. This time it's the model. If I have too much light, I just go down with the sensitivity. I was working this evening at the 400. So of course, no disadvantage at all to go to 100. This answers your second question. Can it be diffused? Yes, it can be diffused, but a lot of disadvantages. First of all, diffusion increases the light angle from 45 degrees to 180 degrees. And imagine how much light is lost. Okay, so the biggest problem is a power problem. The second problem is that this light goes everywhere else in my studio where I do not want it. So it goes to the ceiling, to the other wall, it goes to this wall. So there's a lot of indirect light which I do not have under control. So I think it's quite a common rule that I think you should illuminate what you need and not the entire studio. The same happens here. I want this light to go on her. Okay, so I focus it on her, not the background, not my camera. And this allows me in this situation, for example, to go down with the power. Going down with the power gives me a shorter flash duration. So it's always a benefit if you can direct the light to the area where you need it. So the possibility to shape the light properly, that's super essential. And a week ago, I don't know if you joined me a week ago, the subject was exactly shaping light with LED. Okay, that's exactly the point, that it's not just the uncontrolled LED that boof, illuminates everything uncontrolled. I use my light shapers. I know my light shapers from flash photography, and now when I work with continuous light, I don't have to rethink. I just use the same light shapers, in this situation, P45, because it has the same light geometry, the same light physics like the flash. All right. For the flash setting, did you use second curtain? Yes and no. No on the camera. The camera is on first curtain synchronization, but I delayed the 2 power packs. So from a photographical point of view, yes, it's rear curtain synchronization, but not from the camera. I delayed the power packs. If you wish to capture a longer jump, can you position the f160 on the side? Yes, of course, you can reposition the f160. Nevertheless, if you reposition the f160, I would reposition the para as well. I think it's very important that the para, or the main light, the model, and the f160 is like on one line, it's like 180 degrees. Because if you simply take the LED close to the camera, there are parts of the body that are reached by continuous light and by flashlight. And on this area of the body, first of all, you get an overexposure because both lights exposed there. And secondly, it will not be clear. It will be flash and the blurry thing from the continuous light. By having the light set up on one line, 180 degrees, that the 2 lights clearly separate on the body. You have seen this on the final shot. This rather dark area down her leg separates the 2 lights and guarantees a 100% sharp shot from the flash. Could I use a P70 and grids? Yes, somewhere close. I tried to explain this at the beginning. What is this one doing? The P45 redirects the light. So the light that tries to go left and right is redirected to Yasmin and actually reaches her and hits her with full power. You can, of course, use a P70, but then if you put grids on, the light that tries to go left and right is not redirected, it's just cut. Because honeycomb grids just burn the light that tries to go left and right. So it's actually a focusing of the light by burning the light that goes left and right. However, a Fresnel spot, for example, like the fluter, or a narrow angle reflector are redirecting the light. So you get a lot more power out of such a reflector. So it's not just, it's not a coincidence that this one is there. It's really, it has a good reason. Okay, what is the difference effects between focal length 70 and 105 centimeters? 105 centimeters or a longer focal length, I'm further away with the camera. If Yasmin remains at the same position and I capture her at the same size on my sensor, the picture angle is more narrow and my background appears bigger. So it's the same effect if you're on a beautiful landscape and you shoot somebody in front of a mountain with a narrow angle lens. The person is huge, the mountain is narrow, it's very small. Then you walk 20 meters away and you capture the same person with a tele lens. So even if the person has the same size on your picture, the background is much bigger. And that's, of course, beneficial here because you have seen that some of the pictures I could not use because her right arm was was next to the background, was not in front of the background. And with a longer lens, I can work from further away and with a more narrow picture angle, so I have less problems with the background. That's why I would have used this remaining, I don't know, 4 meters studio length if I would have done this without the webcam observing the set. Okay, good. These were the questions. The other questions are answered. So, 2 big thank yous. First of all, to my audience. Thank you very much that you spent this 1 hour, 15 minutes with me. I hope it was interesting. Personally, I enjoyed it a lot. First of all, because I had the chance once again to shoot amazing Yasmin. If you want to get in contact with her, I just linked her into a story on my Instagram account. So there I linked her. She's based in Germany, as I said. And this would probably, yeah, she likes photography once in a while, maybe not with me too much. But a big thank you to her as well. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I hope it was worth joining me. See you next time. All the best. Bye-bye. Ciao.